Thanks for joining me, everybody. Today, I've got Simon Severino with me. Simon, it is good to see you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Strategy Sprints.
Karl, thanks for having me. So, Simon Severino, 22 years ago, I did fall in love with one question, which is, how can we eat the lunch of our competitors? And my client, I was in one of those global strategy firms, and we would sit in those boards and literally we would get this question like, hey, I'm BMW, Audi is grabbing our market shares. Our product is great, their products are great, our price point is similar to theirs. How do we differentiate? How do we keep them from grabbing our market share? And how do we win against them? How do we stay number one, or if they were number two or number three, how do we become number one? I learned that those are the go-to market questions, and I did so fall in love with those go-to market questions because I had these guys, like the top 40 people of BMW, for 5 days in a room. And if I would say, guys, we need 3 days more because we don't have a plan, they would say, no problem, Simon. You got my top 40 people for 3 more days. Cancel all meetings, because if we don't have a go-to-market strategy, nothing else matters. What do you tell your product managers when you fly back to your country if you don't have a go-to-market strategy? So we can't take any other decision downstream from this one. And so I had all the budgets, all the attention, and when it worked, we got a ton of applause, both monetarily, but just in terms of, wow, thank you, right? We got a plan. We got a plan on how to win. Now, let's go and execute. So I did fall in love with this. Fast forward 22 years later, I'm still doing the same thing. A few things changed. We got more digital, and there were many things that weren't working in the way I was doing them. And so I've innovated and tweaked the way we do it. Today we are much more the Jarvis to an Iron Man. So if Karl, if you are our clients, we are accessible to you 24/7 in real time. So you don't have to wait until next week when we have a scheduled call or in a month when we have a workshop together. It's right now, it works on every device. It works on your phone, on your computer, on your iPad. And you quickly tag your sprint coach, you tag me, and boom, we are there. So it's like, you are Ironman, we're Jarvis, and that's a real-time kind of coaching. So we're business coaches. We help with go-to-market, everything sales and marketing. And the way we do it, being with you in the trenches. You're in action, we are your support team.
Yeah, cool. You said on LinkedIn you've helped like 1,600 clients, which is really cool. I mean, huge impact on businesses in every country except Sweden. And then you're wearing, for those of you who can't see, these Swedish colors on your shirt. So I wonder, have you made it to Sweden yet? Was that out of date, or is it still a nut to crack?
It's funny, we might. I don't know, because there are so many clients where I don't exactly know where they are. And for example, we have an app now, and now I start seeing them because there is a leaderboard, and so they pop up when they're more active, when they complete milestones, they pop up on the leaderboard, and I go, oh, I know this country. Oh no, I don't know this country. And so sometimes I'm surprised. I don't know. Do I have clients in Sweden? I don't know. Let me know, guys.
Yeah. Reach out to Simon if you happen to be using his app in Sweden. So Simon, you've built, I gather, from this, you've built a very repeatable and scalable sort of consulting model, and then you help business owners that work with you build scalable models. So it's kind of cool, like you're practicing what you preach here. I know you know sales well, and I know you know scaling businesses well. One thing I'm curious to dig into here that's related to both those is pricing, and specifically pricing around agencies. And so I'll kind of preface this with 90% of agencies, when they're just starting, I would say use the cost plus model, which basically says, I want to make $50 an hour. So I'll charge my clients $50 an hour for my time. Or I want to pay my employees $25 an hour. So I will charge my clients $50 an hour. So I make a little margin on top of that. Does that work? And then if not, tell me the better way. Like, how do we think about pricing as agency owners specifically?
Short answer, very bad idea. Longer answer, I will share with you guys I wrote together 28 things to do to increase your pricing power. It's a little PDF, and I will share the link with you guys. It's a little guide for CEOs on how to have higher margins. And by CEO, I mean just the solo founder, whoever the person is that decides the pricing and that has to own that. So no pricing is actually never a function of what's needed to fulfill. Pricing is always a function of positioning, messaging, and perceived value. So let me give you one of those 28 things that people will find in there. It's the so-called strategic value. So when I buy from you, what do I actually buy? Let me give you an example. I'm buying a Netflix subscription because Netflix rocks, right? It's great. It's getting better and better. I love it. When I watch one, I'm hooked. I have to watch the whole series. It works. And I have 3 kids. They love it too. So I put it in English. And whenever, I need to do something and I don't have time for them, I go, hey, go take my iPad and watch Netflix. So now the price of that Netflix for 3 young people is $15 a month. Is the value $15 if you can read a book for an hour?
That's right.
So the value for me is millions.
Yeah, right.
The price is 15. That tells you, which in fact is the case, that Netflix has even more hidden unused pricing power because they could charge 49 and I'm still paying. Happily paying. I would pay 60. So that is pricing power. There is no value. And they are not calculating based on what the man hour is needed to improve the algorithm or to pay the content creator. Nobody cares about that. They're thinking, what's it worth to this guy having 3 kids, learning English, and he can have an hour of his time back? Well, that's worth a lot. They know exactly that they still have pricing power and they're doing everything right. Because how do you increase that perceived value? You have to invest in the right things versus the wrong things. So Netflix could invest in sponsorships with, I don't know, celebrities. They don't do that. They do exactly the right thing. They focus on having great content. The content hooks so that you stay there. And they have teams obsessing about the UX, specifically the thumbnails. So what do we show Karl? Do we show him this? They have 3 different thumbnails for each video, and they show you a different thumbnail depending on who's watching. So it's a different Netflix for my kids than they are showing me, and that's why it works. That's perceived value.
Yeah. Now, can we get away with this in agencies, or do you see this often in agencies where you can charge different prices to different clients for the same services?
Absolutely. That's why an agency should never have their prices on the website, because I'll give you an example. Last week, one of the agencies, marketing agencies, who is one of our sprint clients, right? They're in the middle of the sprint. They decide that the price for their main offer is $28,000. And they say, okay, I'm going to put it on the website. I say, you don't put this on the website. Why? Because next week, one of your discovery calls will be a billionaire. And then the perceived value will be 10 to 1. You're going to charge 270,000 when that person pops up. And we laughed about it. Ha ha ha. Okay, let's not put it on the web. Well, a week later, an actual billionaire is on there. It will happen. I'm 22 years in this business. It happens. Your dream client will call at some point. And in that case, it was exactly a week later. And they did charge much more because we teach also how to explore the budget range. There isn't a budget, there is a range. And so when you explore that range and you hear, okay, my budget for this specific solution of a problem is between 60,000 and 80,000, why are you going to charge 28?
Yep. That's right. Yeah, there's a couple things there that I've noted too, that just to back up what you're saying. The first is that even if you struggle with charging a big company more because you think there may be something like, maybe you feel unethical about that. Let me tell you, onboarding and working with a bigger company is going to take you a lot more time and a lot more headaches. So working with a small startup where you work directly with the founder, they sign the paper the same day you send them do a sales call, much different than onboarding with a publicly traded company that has tons of legal review for every single thing that goes through anything. So you do need to sort of charge for your time. So that's part one, is like, don't feel bad about it. They expect it. But two is exactly what you said there about budget. Big companies don't make any moves for $5,000 contracts. They don't do it. They're not going to go through procurement and onboarding with a vendor for $5,000 or $10,000. Like, it's got to be worth the effort that they're going to put into it. So if you don't think you can charge that much, like, probably take a step back and think about, maybe I'm serving the wrong customer and there's people out there who would pay more. Like, how do agency owners go about that process of finding those customers who are more price insensitive then? Because that seems to me like a huge opportunity for most of us.
We call it defining the ideal client and the anti-ideal client. So what we do is on one page, half of it is 5 levels deep what makes your ideal client. The same page, the other half is 5 red flags. So if this happens, we don't take them on as a client. And now sometimes agency owners go, but I have to take every client. No, you don't. You have to get picky. Even in a month where your pipeline is half dry, please be picky. You need that wiggle room when the dream client actually is here. You want to have capacity. So with small agencies, you have to keep that room open. Then when we optimize it, they have a full pipeline. Now we still want them to be picky in terms of, you have now a core program. Let's say it's a 30K main offer that you have. You build a website or a branding, or you help them reduce costs, or you create dashboards for all their metrics. And let's say it's a 30K offer. Now this offer, stage 1, we help them create their flagship offer. And then we optimize everything. Optimizing means increasing the NPS, getting their NPS score in the 60s, 70s, 80s. 90s, you would be a superstar. If you get into the 70s, 80s, that's amazing. And this is when we go to the next stage. Now you have one productized service that works on repeat. When you have that, this is when we fire you from operations. What, Simon, you fire me? Yeah, I fired myself from operations. It's much easier than you think. It's much more fun than you think. It's just you are not doing the client work anymore. Because now you have something that works on repeat. Now you teach others how to do it. And so in my case, it became, I started creating videos. Like, what does Simon do in week 0, week 1, week 2 with that client? How do I respond to this question if that comes? Which checklist do I send them? Oh, here's the checklist. And then I realized, wait a second, I have a process. So I got it out of my head and I created I called it the Sprint University, right? This is what Simon does. It became 274 modules. And then I said, wait a moment, I can teach this and charge for it. So I created a certification program. Now I started certifying certified strategists, sprints coaches. They would do what Simon does. And they were now doing the client work. So this is one way you can scale. You teach others. And that's important because that's the next stage. As soon as you have something repeatable, now it's about teaching it to others. And you are now the head coach. So you are still hearing what's happening, the biggest projects, the most important clients, not every single one, because you will get to stage 3 now. Now that it works, you have a ton of free time. What do you do with that free time? Okay, a little bit you will start investing and being a little bit your own family office. Okay, that's one thing. But that's not enough for the whole day. What do you do with the rest of the day? You will get ideas now, because now you can start for the first time the so-called low ticket offers. All that stuff that everybody's talking about and nobody even really knows what it is. You have unbundled from your highest ticket offer now to a scaled offering. Now you can unbundle every single module. You can now sell as a single thing. So I unbundled them. They became courses: the marketing course, the sales course, the delegation course, the productivity course. Each part became a little course. And now there is an app out there, the Sprint Club. People download the app and they get challenges, they get motivational videos, they get tools, they motivate each other. Again, they talk about how do you structure your family office, my family office, how do you invest into this, how do you hire, how do you fire? And so it's a community. And that is $49 per month. So in there, I don't know everybody anymore. It might be that there are a few people from Sweden that I've never seen, but if they climb up the leaderboard, I will see them. And this is stage 3 of your agency. So stage 1, manual work, really make clients happy until it's repeatable. Stage 2, unbundle, scale. Stage 3, scale even more with low ticket offers. But you're always unbundling from the actual one-on-one work, because this is where you create real transformation, real value.
Your cash cow, kind of, it's going to fund your ability to do these smaller projects that can scale better, but they are lower margin per unit or lower revenue per unit. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Jonathan Stark, are you familiar with him? I used to listen to him a lot back when I was first starting, and one of his ideas, which I don't think he came up with, I learned it from him, is the product ladder, which is basically the same idea as an agency owner, and it's product or service ladder, where you have the highest ticket item that is the top of the ladder, and that's going to be the thing that is high revenue. The margins are probably tighter because it's not as scalable, but like in high touch, you're going to involve a lot of people in it. But you're right, like if you can get yourself out of that production, the next thing you can do is build the bottom and middle rungs of the ladder, and those can be medium touch things. They could be group work, they could be individual courses you sell one-on-one, they could be individual it could be speaking engagements that you go to and you kind of educate people. It could be going to your clients and doing like leading courses at their office rather than doing all the work for them. All these things can kind of scale a lot more. And it's a really good way to A, fill your time, which is important, but also B, continue to grow the business in a way that doesn't require just, we have to go find 1,000 more clients, because sometimes some markets are just too small. It's not necessarily possible, or it takes time.
And you are the first person that tells it in the right order. You start with the high margin ones, and then you unbundle it down to the low.
Well, yeah, you need the cash flow. Like, I keep telling people this, that they worry about like, I don't want to start an agency because it's not a scalable business. And I say, don't worry about that. An agency will give you enough cash flow to go build whatever you want. Like if you want to go build a SaaS, great. Use your agency to fund that. You want to go start a product line, great. But use the cash flow from an agency to fund that. Because if you try to do that while you have a regular job, you're going to be constantly like stressed out, under time constraints. Like, how do you have a family when you're trying to, do your side project all night and weekend? Very hard to do.
Yes. 2 things. One is, out there, 99.9% of the people are telling it the wrong way, because this became a broadly known concept with one problem. They start from the lower ticket side instead of from the higher ticket side. And so when you start from the lower ticket side, and this is what everybody and their mom is doing, they go out there and say, oh, let me start a community. What's a community? Oh, it's free. Okay. And then what comes from the community? Yeah, then I upsell them to a $49 something. And okay, how great can that be? Well, no, I just made it quickly. And so how many people do you think you're going to upsell? Well, I don't know, 50%. And so it
like
never
1%.
works. They run out of money, they burn out,
right.
and that's one of the 100 companies that don't work.
Yeah.
So the red flag is never start from the low ticket side, and don't think that you're going to upsell people, because you're probably not going to do that. Start from the top and unbundle down. The second thing is, agency is not scalable. Well, first of all, it's not true. We can go through examples of scalable agencies. But also, even if it wasn't scalable, let's do this other exercise. What's your rich life? You wake up tomorrow as a billionaire. How does your life look like? Let's be honest, okay? I do this exercise with all our clients, and I know my billionaire day exactly. Tomorrow, I wake up a billionaire. I wake up at 5 a.m., I go running. Then I come back, I play with my 3 kids. And I can tell you every minute of the day. Why? Because it's the actual day. So when you do that, you realize that it's not so far away. And now you engineer so that it's actually doable. Your billionaire day is probably 80%, 90% doable next week if you really want. And now you back engineer, okay, what's the profit? Not the revenue, the net take home that I need to live that day. And then you realize probably it's like, I don't know, it's 5,000 a month or 9,000 or 15,000. It's not what you thought. And now a well-run agency can probably fulfill that. And now we're talking living your rich life right now, not later when I sell it. Right now you can live your rich life and have an agency that funds that. I mean, how cool is that? So everybody that tells me, oh, it's just a lifestyle business, I say, yes, and it's an amazing lifestyle.
It's an amazing lifestyle. That's right. I actually was just talking to somebody about this. I don't know when these episodes will get released, but yesterday we were recording an episode, and agency owners scaled bigger than mine, and we were talking about this. It's this idea of lifestyle design, which is what you're talking about, where you start with the end in mind and you build from there. It sounds so revolutionary, but it really, like once I realized that I had that realization a couple of years ago as well. It's like, man, this makes it so much easier. Like it does a ton of things. Like one is it allows you to spend time doing the hobbies you want now when you're still healthy enough and have the energy to do them, right? Because if you put that stuff off to you're 70 years old, who knows? You're not guaranteed another year. And second of all, it allows you to build a business that is built in a way that doesn't rely on me as the linchpin. Therefore, I have the creative freedom to go find opportunities that are way outside of what another small business owner might take, whether that's buying other companies or finding sales at some weird place that you wouldn't have found or otherwise, or just the time to go create things, which end up driving more business down the line. One of the things I want to ask you about, Simon, because I think this is a sticking point for a lot of people with agencies, is how do you build the pipeline to build up the cash flow to that point? Because one of the things that people often run into with agencies is all they get are referrals, just random referrals, right? Like that's the whole business built on. How do we get past that cycle and get to where we're intentionally getting new customers on a regular basis that we can predict with some regularity?
Yeah, but that's what I teach every Monday. So every Monday, they come together, agency owners come together, and we work on 2 pieces. One is filling the pipeline, and the second one is closing the deal. Those are the 2 things that you have to master. So filling the pipeline, they call it lead gen. All right. I don't like to think in leads, because what is a lead? I've never seen a lead. I see people, and some people are interested in what you do, and some people are engaged, and some people don't care. So I see 3 kinds of people. And I help them start conversations with the right people at the right time for the right reason. This is how you fill the pipeline. I love to do this on YouTube, on X, on podcasts, on LinkedIn. But whatever you pick 1 or 2 of those playing fields. And from there, I teach them how to start the conversation. That's a cold start. Like, hey, founder, you just got a Series B. Congrats. By the way, I don't have the time right now to follow up on this, but hey, greets from Ohio. See you soon. So that's a great first conversation. If your ideal client is somebody who just got a Series B funding, right? And then you create a step that 3 days later says, by the way, I have a podcast. You might want to come onto my podcast, maybe? Here's the link. And so you start building that relationship. Next step, so when we've built the basic outreach, both outbound, this is an outbound sales funnel, and an inbound sales funnel, some content that drives them to you, like a book or YouTube or podcast. When you have a mix of inbound and outbound, then the next thing is to say, okay, what's the dream 100 list? Literally make a list of the 100 people that you would love to have as a client. You would do that for free. That's how much you like them. And then we literally do the list. And I did this list so many times, it really works. So what happens next is we go to LinkedIn and actually break it down. We have their LinkedIn link. And now we start those conversations. And some of those conversations, now they show up on your pipeline. How do you move them forward? The next thing is follow-up, having a cadence of follow-up and knowing how to follow up. We implement with them 7 stages in this pipeline because usually they don't have clear stages. And you need to be very intentional in how you name those stages. For example, do you know what their budget is? Then they are in clarified budget. Do you know what their pain point is? Then they are in that stage. Did they receive an offer from you? Then okay, offer received. So having really clear buckets, and then every day for half an hour going to that pipeline and literally moving them forward. Oh, this person wasn't called since 14 days. Let's catch up. Oh, this person said they're going to book a time, they didn't. Let's follow up. That's the management of the pipeline.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people get too worried about how do I reach hundreds or thousands of people so I can get some sales calls, and I'm like, look, you're an agency, you probably need 20 clients. Like, I don't know like what the number is, but it's not many. You know, it's a much smaller game than if you're trying to sell a SaaS product or you're in e-commerce and you have to sell thousands or millions of units to make something significant. And I think that's you're right, Simon. I agree totally. It's like, just simplify it. Get yourself 100 clients you want to meet with. Find out which conferences they go to. Find out which events they're going to. Find out where they hang out online. Find out, what connections you have in common. Did you go to the same college as somebody who runs their, such and such department? Like, just anything. Just guerrilla market this thing to find your way into those connections. But to your earlier point, the hard part is a lot of these agency owners don't have time to do that, or they don't devote the time to it. Instead, they get sucked into client work and making decisions on small things and all that. So it's this virtuous cycle, right? Like, you have to pull yourself out of the day-to-day so that you can really work on business development and actually think about it.
That's why every Monday I show them how I do it. Plus, there is so much great software and great AI right now that can do it for you. But you have to know what you tell them to do. So today I showed them an AI that's basically manages pipeline for them, right? But you have to still to know what the structure is and what to look for and what the inputs are so that they can work for you. But when you structure it right and know which agent to put on it, well, now you have a pipeline system, and everything must be a system in an agency. So everything that you do twice must be a system.
One of the challenges that I found moving up market into enterprise sales is that the sales cycles get really long and sometimes very unclear as to what is happening on the other side. So I'll give a personal example. We were working on a really big publicly traded company for, I think it was close to a year. And the whole time we think we're getting closer and closer. And then, we send our proposal, they send back a completely different document, looked like they had just scrapped it and started over. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Then your key person gets fired and it's a new person and you start all over again.
Right. So you've been through this. I have gone through this. Some of these times it's been successful. Other times it hasn't. What do I do? Like, seriously, like when you're in those seemingly endless enterprise sales cycles, what are some ways to kind of help close the gaps a little bit, shorten it? Or what do I need to know up front in order to know if this is even going to happen? Like, what's your thoughts there?
I got this question around 3,000 times. And the shortest answer is do both. So have 1 or 2 enterprise clients per year. Those are the big tickets and they're very steady, but it takes you 18 months to close it. And whenever they fire somebody, you have to start from scratch. So make sure that you limit them in terms of, okay, let me have 3 enterprise clients per year. Our personal limit is 1 enterprise per year that we pick. Again, you have to pick. And then many small teams, because you can close them boom, boom, boom. Every day you can close 10. And so by doing that, you always have the cash flow and you have that predictability that you might want from a big enterprise. One example is last year we picked Google as the enterprise client. And so, of course, when you have a client like Google, you can relax a bit. They won't go insolvent quickly. On the other side, it takes you 20 months to get there. And during those 20 months, you never know if you get that account because there are 25 other agencies trying to get that account. And so it's always high risk too. And my personal choice is double helix, right? Pick a number. For us, it's one enterprise and then founders every day. That's our mix. So I have 22 months to get an elephant, but I can hunt for smaller hunt 10 times a day.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really good insight, and I think we've fallen into a similar pattern accidentally, not by any intention, just because those smaller ones close faster. What I find too, and this kind of adds to your argument here, is you really only need a couple of those big names to kind of be your magnet clients that draw in the little ones. What I mean is, when people are picking an agency, it's subjective, right? Like any reputable agency of decent size can probably do pretty good work. Like I'm not saying there aren't bad ones out there, but most of us are trying our best, right? We're doing decent work. And so when you're, somebody comes on a sales call, a smaller company, and they say, well, why should we pick you? And you can say, well, we do good work for X, Y, and Z companies that you recognize in your industry. Somebody that, is a thought leader, perceived as a thought leader in the space. It helps a ton on closing those smaller deals. So, you spend your year and a half trying to close the one Google, but that Google might bring you another 20 or 30 small ones that kind of want to be Google someday. So I think there's something to that as well. It's like you don't need all Googles. You just need a few of them to draw in the little guys.
Yes. And that's why even just picking one per year is probably enough over a decade.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that comes up with, you've kind of touched on this already, but I want to dig into it more because I am constantly trying to get better at this, is the repeatability of sales. So on one hand, we don't want part of a service business is that every sale is inherently slightly different because we can productize a lot, but some clients will have different needs, and we'll have to make exceptions for a couple of them. Again, it's all dangerous, tricky territory. I'm not saying there's one way or the other is right. How do you make sales more repeatable, though, in an agency type business to get it to a point where I could say, bring on a salesperson who can do the job for me?
The best sales does not feel like they've been sold anything. It feels like, hey, somebody's listening to me and they are customizing and they're doing exactly what I need right now. So the master class is really for the client. It always feels totally customized. And for the team, it's, hey, let's put together 2.7 and A and B5 and ship it. So it's both. That's the perfect process. For the client, it always feels totally natural. They are driving it. It's their change. It's their results. And they are climbing up the ladder. That's on the client. And for your team, it's always like, okay, let's put together that part with that part, write down this price, send it. How do you do that? For people watching this, there is a yellow thing here, a yellow pyramid with 8 steps. Those are the 8 steps of the repeatable sales. It starts, and I have another one in front of me because I use it every single day. And I have an AI, which is my sales coach, which we built, which has exactly those 8 steps. And it literally pops up and says, Simon, you're skipping step 4, so that I remember. Because it's about practicing like athletes. They know how to walk, but they still practice leg work. Huh? So the 8 steps, let me give you the 8 steps, and later on people can download it at strategysprints.com. Step 1 is visualize. And the reason why those 8 steps are because you need a repeatable structure. But for the other side, it will never feel like a structure. It doesn't feel scripted. It's a natural conversation, but you are walking through a river and you don't know exactly the depth of each step. So you don't know what's in the water. So what you need is just 8 stones that you can basically rely on. Those are the only 8 steps that you see. The rest is under the water and is always different, and you should go with the flow. But only flow will swipe you away. So you need a structure in that flow. And those are the 8 steps. So first, are you visualizing or not? You always have to whiteboard. Literally, you write what they are saying. You use their words, you win. You use yours, you lose. Simple. Second, their frustration. And by the way, in this whole process, they talk 75% of the time, you talk 25% of the time. So they drive it. And you can relax because you know, okay, when this happens, then I have to step in. I let it run. Do you know their frustrations? Not just, hey, I want you to build a website. Oh, interesting. Why? Why now? What have you tried already? Oh, and why didn't it work? Oh, and when you have a body frustration, because nobody gets it. Nobody gets what we're doing. Okay, now we're talking. Now you are ready for step 3. Okay, and why is it important? In the context of all the things that you're doing, how does this relate to your important thing? Is this the most important thing? Then, cost of inactions. What happens if you do nothing? And who else are you talking to? Oh, Simon, I can't ask them about competition. Yes, you can. That's the structure of a sales call. You ask them, who else are you talking to? What are you learning about it? What are your criteria? Are you adding criteria? Do you have all criteria? Do you know what's more important? How do you weigh those criteria? Speed, quality. Okay, what does speed mean for you? Days, minutes, seconds. Quality. What is quality for you? What's a high quality outcome? Now you have the cost of inaction. Step 4. And usually now the discovery call is over because that's 40 minutes. So now you schedule the next call, which is called a demo call. And you only offer it to the ones that actually got through all the 4 stages. Because some of them, they won't go with you. They go, no, just tell me the price and make me an offer. Okay, you don't get a demo call. And I have no offer for you. Why? I just want to know the price. Yeah, we're not price shooters here. We are actual professional problem solvers. I don't hear your problem yet. So I don't have an offer for you. And you don't have to do it that hardcore. You can be more polite, obviously. But you will only offer a demo call to the people that actually were able to co-create these 4 stages with you. So you check already for co-creation. And then next call will start with, okay, what happened since our last call? Cool, okay, yeah. And now you go to step 5, deliverables. Those deliverables, you use their words from stage 1. Remember, you were whiteboarding. So you use their exact words, and it's 3 sentences. Okay, these are the 3 things that you want to get rid of or achieve. Those are the deliverables of our work together. It's 90 days or 180 days or 260 days. You pick it, and that's your offer. Now they are not surprised about anything. You share the link to them to a PandaDoc or DocuSign where they find exactly what they said with the number, because the next stage is the investment. It's not the costs. There are no costs. They invest time and money. First, you talk about the time investment. Then you talk about the monetary investment. Whenever they ask you a question, you go back to the deliverables. So you don't say, working with us is $9,000 a month. You say, you are investing $9,000 per month into solving problem described in your words, in your exact words. I say, yes, exactly. That's exactly what I need. Yeah, it's your words. It's your project. And now there is a natural zero resistance. And then when do you start to work? Statement of work. They sign it during the demo call, and then you move on into onboarding, which for you is one click. It opens a doc, it sends them the onboarding things, And that's it. From now on, the delivery team takes over from the salesperson, or if it's just one person now, you go into onboarding.
That's amazing. I am definitely downloading that. I I don't want to plug for you too hard, Simon, but you won me over. This is a really, I love the structured way you think about this, because I'm a former software engineer, so my brain always goes, I love structure and I love these kind of like ordered processes. And I think too many people think of sales as this art, not a science, in that they just think it's like, oh, you just have to be a good talker. And it's like, I agree with your point. It's like, it's 75% listening, hopefully, if you're doing it right. And so, no, it's more of you have to be a good listener. But having like these checklist like items to make sure you are getting to in each call and in each sort of section of the call, hugely helpful to me. So I love that.
They are not random. Sometimes the reason why, I know them, so I don't need it in front of me. Why do I have it in front of me? Because even if you know them, in the conversation, you get pulled somewhere and then you forget it. And then they ask you quickly for the price and you say quickly the price. Boom.
Right,
you lose
right.
it. You lose it.
Yeah.
So they are not random. They are in 22 years of course, running analysis on this, because I get the tapes. So I get the sales recordings of all my clients and I give them exact feedback. And so I saw these patterns. And now, of course, with AI, you can get even faster and even more feedback, because it tells you immediately, boom, hey, you're skipping step 4. Because it's a language model, so it's great at recognizing language patterns. And you can code it now, and you can quickly get your feedback. So it's not random. And it happens to me almost every week that I skip one of these steps. And when I skip them, I don't close the deal. That's why we have to practice.
So I'm going to shift gears for the last little bit here. Because you talk about this as well, and I always like these kinds of topics. So let's talk about resilience as an entrepreneur. One of the things I've observed is that if you are in entrepreneurship long enough, you will have some insanely successful years and some insanely unsuccessful years. And the people I know who are most successful are the ones who have figured out how to weather that mentally. Is that your observation as well? And like, what do you think about when you think about resilience? What does that mean to you?
Yes, the two biggest risks for an agency owner are to give up too early and to physically burn out, like physically, mentally, like burnout as a person or burnout as a company, which means you give up too early. So those are the two risks. Everything else is actually, well, you might say, okay, there is a third risk that your pipeline dries up. I'm not worried about that because I'm a pipeline coach. But in theory, if you don't have a pipeline coach or are a pipeline coach, then there is a third risk, your pipeline dries up, which leads then to your company giving up too early because you're insolvent. So risk, basically burnout risk and running out of cash, right? Those are the two big risks of cash flow. Now, how do you attack them? First of all, let's make that year into a week. Let's make it small. That's the first step, because you don't have to wait for a year to know, oh, this is a terrible year. Make it as small as possible. And the smallest is Monday to Friday. It's a typical rhythm that most of us have. That's why we install literally the Monday meeting and the Friday meeting with all agencies. Monday, everybody says in 3 minutes, this is my priority for this week. And that alone creates such clarity for the person telling their priority, because they're coming from the weekend, right? So they were swimming with their kids, meeting their parents. So they come into this week, and you need the time to refocus, to land in your seat, right? And say, okay, from my perspective, that's my priority for this week. And we do this with everybody. So with agencies, owners, but everybody in their team, customer success, everybody, developers, everybody. Monday, that's my focus. And on Friday, that focus gets measured. So this is what I did. This was the outcome. And then everybody together, okay, what do we learn from this? Oh, we learned that when we do this, it works. When we do this, it doesn't. So what do we do more next week? Let's do more of what works. It's so simple, but that's the first step. Don't make it big. Like, I don't plan of writing a book. It's too big. I plan, okay, next 7 days, I will create 3 pieces of content about pricing power. 2 will be on YouTube, 1 on X, okay? And 1 is live, and 2 will be recorded. That's my plan for the week. Because if you make it small, it's more fun. You can measure quicker if it actually works, if you are doing the right thing, and if anybody needs it. That's why I love YouTube, because you hear in the content, in the comment section immediately if somebody needs it or if it's BS.
Yeah.
They tell me, Simon, this is BS. Okay.
Yeah.
Next week I'm better.
Yeah.
So make it small.
Yeah.
And create that loop from end to end. This is my priority. Those are my activities. This is what I learned from it. When you do that, now you are not losing energy from week to week. On Friday, you are proud. Yes, you are tired, but you should be tired on Friday. But you're tired in a good way. If you don't do it, you will still be tired because it's still Friday. But you will be tired in a bad way, like, oh my God, the week passed, and what did I actually do?
The one thing you wanted to do didn't get done. But you're right. Like, it gives you this, okay, well, next week I'm going to set one thing. It's like a quick reset, right? I got the weekend to think about it and reflect. And then I come back Monday and I say, okay, this is my one thing. I didn't get last week, but I'm getting this week, and you're like, you're building, I get going back to resiliency, which I love this topic. It's like you're building these quick feedback cycles of, hey, you're going to have a bad week. You're going to miss your target sometimes, but you come right back and you're alive again. Like, you're starting at 0, like, go make the best of it.
And everybody can clap. If you're winning, you can get a little clap. And if somebody else on your team is winning, you can clap. And that's the most important thing. Clap to their success. Enjoy their successes. Make some sounds. I have a soundboard here. I click it. It goes, pew, 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 pew. It goes, chiging, chiging, chiging. So it makes sound. Enjoy it, right? This is your life. And so that's one thing, make it small. The second is celebrate progress. And so these are the basics, and I think everybody should implement this. And now I will give you some bonus on top. Now gamify it. Now enjoy the heck out of it. So this is how we do it. For example, I told you I'm launching an app, right? So 14 days ago, we launched this app. A month long, it was building an app. And if you have ever built an app and then you have to negotiate with the Apple Store, it can be really painful. So we just did this in a very short time, like 21 days of building and shipping. Then we shipped it. And now you have to get your first people in. So I gave myself in the swim lane in the Monday session. I said, okay, my job is to get people into the app, to get subscribers. It's $49 a month. So, and it's a new app. That's not easy. I said, okay, I'm going to get 50 people per week in there. Okay, that's the number. And I know that on Friday, everybody will look at me. And so I have to deliver. I better deliver, right? And so I made this game and I said on X, this is what I'm building and this is what I have to deliver every Friday. So now the pressure is on and I'm doing this in public. And this is one form of gamification. And now every Friday, I was literally saying, oh yeah, guys, woo, woo, woo. Number 61 is in there. I have 11 more than goal. And so I was celebrating. And now it's 170 people. So I know exactly when the new one. And 10 minutes before this, number 171 came in. And I was like, oh, hello, cool. Who are you? Where are you coming from? And so I enjoy every single one, and it gives me more energy. And now, how likely is Simon to burn out next week? Not much likely, because I'm enjoying this so much. And so I'm telling my kids, we had dinner, and I told them, hey, it's 170 people. And they go, oh, cool. Last week it was just 121. I say, yeah, exactly, yeah. So you can share it. You get energy back. You get these little celebrations in. And then in the app, we've created a leaderboard. So the most active ones, I created challenges, the messaging challenge, the prospecting challenge, the things that are hard to do, prospecting. Everybody tries to avoid prospecting. Right? Following up in the pipeline. I create a pipeline challenge. They do these little things, they get points, they move up the leaderboard, then they see the others and go, oh, you are also here. And so they network. These little gamification elements, this is how you can have more fun. Because I think that an agency owner that has more fun wins.
I love it. That's great. That's a good insight. Simon, I've gotten a ton out of this. I have one last question for you, and then I swear I'm gonna let you go. So last question. Any books besides your own? I will let you plug your own, of course, but besides your own that you've read in the last couple of years or whatever that have made a big impact on you personally, could be business, could be non-business related books.
A wonderful book. I mean, I read 50 books a year, but let's pick some.
That's the hard part.
Yes. A wonderful one is The Power of Moments.
Okay.
And it's not written for agency owners, but I think they should read it because it is about, let's say you go to Disneyland. What is it actually that you remember about that trip? You don't remember everything. You remember specific things. And that book is how you design those peak moments. And I think this is important for every agency owner because your clients will remember one highlight and the end of the project. And so you have to design those experiences in a way that clicks, because that's the moment when you will ask for a referral. And that's the moment when you will ask for a client testimonial. That's why they need to be well designed. So that's one book. And I give it to all clients because that's the moment when they have to ask for the referral. Another great book is Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. And it's about having a plan and having an executable plan so that then you can break it down into weekly sprints. Those are two very good books.
Awesome. Simon, I have not read those, so those are going on my list. Simon Severino, thank you so much for your time. Tell us a little more about where we can find you in Strategy Sprints.
So you can find us at strategysprints.com. I would recommend you guys download some of the tools that we discussed, the yellow pyramid, which is the repeatable sales tool, or the pricing power guide, because then you can go and implement those things directly. If you want to go even deeper, you go to Amazon, download the book Strategy Sprints by Simon Severino. If you want to go even deeper and have a Jarvis, while you are Iron Man and you have a Jarvis, you go to the App Store on Apple or Android, you go to your App Store and download the app Strategy Sprints. This is where we gamify together the journey of scaling an agency and have fun, frankly. I'm there all the time. It's so cool. And then that's probably the best way, right?
Probably the best way. All right, Simon, thank you so much for the time. This has been really fun and educational for me and hopefully for listeners too. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Karl, for showing up with consistency for your audience day in and day out.
Thank you for watching this episode of Retain Trust. If you like this one, give it a thumbs up and subscribe on YouTube. It takes 2 seconds and it helps others find out about the show. And if you have questions or suggestions for a future episode, leave a comment. See you next time.